Hello, this is Daniel from soundheadquarters.com. In today's video, we are going to be transforming the space from this to this with these custom mixed position walls with wood slats and integrated lighting. I'm going to show you step by step the whole build and installation process, so let's get right into it. Here is the client's existing studio, undergoing major renovations, and perfect time for us to get in there and do all kinds of great stuff. So we're going to be starting off with these mixed position acoustic walls. So we're starting off with 2x2 lumber, and this is what's going to build the frame that's going to hold the acoustic insulation, fabric, lights, all of that stuff. So we ended up going 6 feet wide by 8 feet tall. So I'm just screwing together my exterior frame at those dimensions, and then adding in all of my middle support braces. Now I added in these braces at every 2 feet, so that way the 2x4 foot acoustic insulation can just slide right into place and fit nice and snug, which you'll see in a moment. And I screwed this all together with 3-inch construction screws. So you can see here the test fit of the frame, just getting it into position there before we go ahead and actually get this mounted. So we got the correct height, referencing the electrical outlets in the rooms, making sure that we mount this frame above any electrical. And I'm just screwing this into this wall using anchors. This side of the wall was actually masonry, so we used masonry anchors, and the opposite wall was drywall, so we just used standard drywall anchors on the other side. And there you can see the frame screwed into the wall here. Now that the frame is in, we can get ready to start with our acoustic insulation. So we are using Rockwool Comfort Board 80. This is 1.5 inch thick, semi-rigid acoustic insulation. And we're using this because the client wanted to go as low profile as possible with the left and right mixed position walls. So we're using a thin 1.5 inch acoustic insulation here. And we can just go ahead and get this cut to size. And you can see we just press fit it right in between those wooden supports in the middle. And that's it, our wall is insulated. We did the same thing on the right side wall as well. And now we're ready to set up our bracing and get ready for our fabric. So this bracing is getting placed right here because our fabric is only about 5 feet wide. And since we're adding wood slats to this later, that bracing is where we're gonna add these wood slats here, which will cover up our staple marks. So we have 1x2 pine, and we also have 1x4 pine, and we're going to use that wood to create an equal pattern on both sides of the acoustic wall. And we're going to use this tung oil here to put on a finish onto that wood, so it's not just raw wood. The client wanted to leave these slats natural, but we decided to put that tung oil on just to give them a nicer sheen and just nicer look compared to just the raw wood. So I'm applying that tung oil with a rag, wiping it on, and then just wiping off the excess. Now we can go ahead and get ready to staple on the fabric here. So we're using a olive green canvas for this entire studio, and I'm just going ahead and getting all of that fabric stapled onto the frame, making sure that I leave myself a flap on the side closest to the windows, because that is where we're going to conceal the wiring for the LED strips, which you'll see later on. So I'm just using a pneumatic stapler, and I'm using 1/4 inch staples, and I'm just stapling these into the wood frame. And now we can get started mounting our wood slats. So I'm nailing off these wood slats right on top of the wall into our acoustic wall frame. I'm using 16 gauge brad nails to nail these in. And I'm nailing them off at each of those middle supports, and I'm making sure that everything is nice and straight and level as I nail these off. You can see we did a repeating pattern there with 1x2 in the center, and then the 1x4s in a kind of cascading pattern, radiating outwards from that center line there. And there you can see that leftmost side of fabric where I only put a few staples there. That is going to be the spot that hides all of the electrical. We're going to tuck it behind the fabric before we put that final slat on. Right here, what I'm adding is a strip of 1x2. This is the wood that's going to hold our LED strips. So I'm putting them in at the very top and very bottom. You can see how that's placed inside the frame there, and I left that far left-hand side not nailed in, so I have a bit of room to maneuver for when we tuck all the electrical inside the wall there. Here are the tracks that we're going to be mounting the LED light strips into. It is 1 part aluminum track and then 1 part plastic light diffuser that helps kind of cover up the dots of the LED strips. And then those are the little clips that we're going to screw into that piece of 1x2. And then the aluminum channels simply just snap right into those clips. And that's what's going to hold our LED channels in place. So I'm just screwing in those clips right now into the bottom of that 1x2, and then we're ready to add our strips. So I'm using Govee RGBIC light strips. These are just off of Amazon. and we're using a 16 footer, which I'll be cutting down to size to fit our 6 foot wide wall. And any excess of the strip can get managed in our cable management afterwards. So I'm just sticking that on, making sure that everything is stuck on nice and straight and securely. And I can do the same up top. And you can see how I left that flap there. What I'm doing is I'm carving out a little bit of insulation space, and I need to run that power cable all the way down so I can connect to the power outlet that's near the bottom of the acoustic wall. So that's why I left that flap of fabric open there. And as I tuck the wiring in, I can just nail, or staple rather, the fabric into the frame. I then nail off that final piece of trim. And there you can see we tested out the light strips, everything is working well. And we cut off the extra fabric and nailed off that last leftmost strip to complete the wood slats on the wall now. Now the only thing that's left is the final pieces of trim. We're going to use a piece of 1x4 on the top and bottom to cover the light strip and kind of diffuse the strip a little bit more. Right now I'm adding in those plastic strips just to get a little bit of diffusion on that light. And then we're going to cap off those light strips with the piece of 1x4, which you can see me putting in there right now. So I'm just nailing that off on the top and bottom, making sure everything's all secure. And then we have these end cap pieces that I ripped down on the table saw to match the exact distance away from the wall to match up with that front casing that's covering the light there. And this is just going to give us a nice kind of professional look, as you can see right there. And that wraps up the build for our wall. The only additional thing that I did here is use cable management conduit to hide those little bits of extra LED light strip that's at the bottom of the wall. And then when the clients did all their final paint around the room, they painted the outer perimeter of the fabric walls, as you can see right here. They painted it black to match the overall theme of the studio. And that brings a conclusion to this video of the custom fabric walls with wood slats and integrated LED lighting. I'm going to leave you guys off with just some glamour shots of the finished studio. Stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to show all the rest of this studio build. We're going to do a video on the ceiling clouds. We're going to do a video on the fabric walls inside the vocal booth. And then we're also going to do a video on the custom artwork that I did on these 3 panels that are in the rear side of the room above the couch. Very cool kind of pendulum painting that we did on top of those acoustic panels. So once again, this has been Daniel from soundheadquarters.com. I really appreciate everyone watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. This studio is Main 1 Studios, located downtown Toronto on Queen Street West. Give them a follow if you'd like to go book a session there or just check out all the stuff that they get into. So thanks so much once again. I'm going to sign off right now, but this has been Daniel from Sound Headquarters. Peace out.